The same coffee, every morning, $5. You hand it over without thinking. The cup goes warm into your palm. It is the one small thing that is yours. You never once think of it as money. It is just the cup. It is just the morning. But what if it is not coffee at all? What if it is the first brick of a number you will never get to meet, as long as you keep drinking it? You buy it every weekday. The corner of Wells and Lake. A woman named Donna runs the counter. 19 years on the same square of sidewalk. She knows your order before you speak. You hand her the money. You take the cup. Your hand knows its shape in the dark. Here is the part nobody tells you. $5 is not $5. It is the first sell of something. And if you keep drinking it, you never meet what it would have become. And you cannot know yet what the cups would have become. This is what happens if you invest your coffee money instead. 30 years. The same $5. And a number on the other side you are not allowed to see until the end. Phase 1. The first redirected $5. It is a Monday in October. You do not buy the coffee. You stand on the corner with your hand empty, and you feel, of all things, embarrassed. Not by anyone, by yourself. The empty hand is awkward. It does not know what to do. It goes into your pocket. It comes out. It holds your phone for no reason. You open the app you downloaded last night. The one with the green logo. You move $5 into an index fund. The app does not celebrate. There is no sound. A number that was 0 becomes 5. You stare at it, the way you used to stare at the cup. It is a worse feeling than buying the coffee. The coffee gave you warmth, a smell, a thing to hold for 10 minutes. The transfer gives you a number and a hand with nothing in it. Your body keeps score in warm cups, not in compounding. And your body, that first week, is quietly furious with you. You do it the next morning, and the next. By Friday, you have $25 and a strange new feeling. You have made the smallest promise to a man you have never met. He is 30 years away. He does not know your name. You have started sending him money. Donna asks if you are all right. You say you are cutting back. She nods. She has heard it before. 100 times. From 100 people who were back at her counter within a week. You walk out into the cold, hands jammed in your pockets. You are not sure you will not be one of them. The rule of phase 1 is the hardest one. The money you do not spend does not feel like money. It feels like nothing. It feels like an empty hand. And the empty hand is the price of a room you cannot see into yet. Phase 2. The boring years. This is the part they leave out of every video about getting rich. Because it is the part that does not film well. For 3 years, nothing happens. You move $5 every weekday, 25 a week, roughly 120 a month. You do it in January when it is dark at the corner. You do it in July when the coffee would have been iced. You do it on the morning after a fight with someone you loved. You do it on the morning you got a small raise. You do it on the gray, ordinary mornings that make up most of a life. The ones you will not remember at all. The account grows the way grass grows. You cannot watch it happen. You can only notice every few months that it is taller than it was. By the end of year 1, you have about $1,500. The market goes up a little. You feel clever. The market dips. 1,500 becomes 1,300. You feel like a fool. A fool on a corner with an empty hand. For nothing. Some mornings the discipline is invisible even to you. You move the money before you are awake. Thumb on glass. You do not feel strong. You feel like a person doing a chore. 1 March you move 200 extra in. 1 April you move it back. The car needs brakes. You hate that you moved it back. Nobody knows you did either thing. That is the texture of phase 2. A secret you keep from a man you have not met. Then there is Theo. Theo sits 2 desks over. Theo buys a large oat milk latte every single morning. $6.50. He carries it past your desk like a small, warm trophy. Some mornings the smell of it reaches you, and your empty hand remembers exactly what it is missing. He sets the cup by his keyboard. The morning light catches the steam. You watch the steam. You go back to your spreadsheet. Theo is not a villain. Theo is the most reasonable man you know. He says life is short. He says you cannot take it with you. He says the coffee is the one nice thing he gives himself. And who are you to argue, standing there, with your dumb, empty hand in your account that does nothing. You almost quit here. Most people quit here. They quit exactly here, in the boredom. Because a habit, before it gives you anything you can feel, gives you only itself. There is no reward yet. There is only the discipline of the empty hand. The rule of phase 2 is the one nobody believes. The boredom is not the obstacle. The boredom is the engine. Phase 3. The morning the machine wakes up. You have been doing this for 4 years. One ordinary Tuesday, you open the app to make the daily move. And you notice something you have never seen before. The account grew, last month, by more than you put into it. You put in about $120. The account went up by $190. The extra came from nowhere, from nothing, from the money you redirected years ago, working on its own, without you, while you slept, while you stood on the corner with your empty hand, while Theo carried his warm trophy past your desk. You read the number twice. You do the small arithmetic to make sure. You have not misread it. Money arrived that you did not earn at any desk, that no boss approved, that came from coffee you did not drink. In years you can no longer remember the weather of. You sit at your kitchen table. The cup is not in your hand. It has not been in your hand for 4 years. And for the first time, you understand what the empty hand was for. The empty hand was not a sacrifice. The empty hand was a deposit slip. You run the real numbers that night, the ones that break something. You take the $5 every weekday and you let it grow at the long average of the market. You carry it the full distance. To the morning you turn 55. The number is $540,000. You read it again. $540,000 from a cup of coffee, from the thing you used to hand Donna without thinking, the thing that was gone before you reached your desk. You had been carrying $500,000 to work every morning and pouring it down your throat, warm, and calling it a treat. You do not sleep much that night. You think about the mornings before the app, the cups that are already gone, the ones that are never coming back. You count the lost years, the years of school, the first jobs, all the cups before you moved a single dollar. You try to put a number on what those years would have become. The number is so much larger than 540,000 that you make yourself stop. You do the subtraction. You try to stop doing the subtraction. You cannot. This is the moment that should be a triumph. Instead, it is the quietest grief you have ever felt. You did the right thing. And the reward for doing the right thing is the clear sight of how long you did the wrong one. Nobody warns you. Understanding compound interest feels, at first, exactly like regret. The rule of phase 3 is the cruel one. Compound interest does not reward the smart. It rewards the bored, the consistent, the person who kept the hand empty when there was no reason to. Phase 4. The quiet decade. Now you understand it. And understanding it changes nothing about what you have to do, which is keep doing the same small, dull thing for 10 more years. The numbers get larger. The moves stay the same size. $5 every weekday into the green app, while the decade goes by outside the window. You get married. You move twice. There is a morning your wife asks why you still do the little coffee transfer by hand. You could automate it. Set it once, never think about it again. You tell her the truth. You like to feel the size of it, every day, the smallness of it, because the smallness is the whole point. You are afraid that if a machine did it, you would forget what you were giving up. She thinks that is a strange answer. She is right. It is a strange answer. It is also the reason it worked. Donna retires. A younger man named Hassan takes the counter. He does not know your order. You have not ordered anything from that counter in 8 years. You pass the shop on the way to the train. The smell still finds you, roasted and warm, and your hand still answers it. Even now, even a decade in, the hand never fully stops wanting the cup. You just stop letting it decide. The account crosses 10,000. You barely notice. It crosses 25,000 on a morning you were thinking about something else. Then the market crashes. Badly. The number falls by a third in a single terrible month. The news uses the word collapse. And you do the only thing the board have ever known how to do. Nothing. You keep moving the $5. You buy more of the cheap thing while everyone else is selling. 2 years later, the number is higher than it has ever been. The crash, in the long picture, is a small notch you can barely find. Theo, 2 desks over, is older now. He still buys the latte. By your rough count, he has bought it more than 2,000 times since you stopped. He is not poorer than you in any way he can see. His car is nicer than yours. He took a better vacation last summer. He was right to. But Theo's mornings produced only mornings. Yours produced the mornings and something else, growing underneath. Something he cannot picture. Because nobody can picture nothing turning into something. That is the whole trick. That is why almost no one does it. There is a morning Theo asks how you stay so calm about money. And you almost tell him. You almost say it out loud. The green app. The corner of Wells and Lake. The empty hand. The number on the other side of the cup. But you look at the warm trophy by his keyboard. And you understand the answer is 13 years long. It cannot be handed across a desk. He would have to live it to believe it. And most people, given the chance to live it, choose the cup. So you say you just do not think about money much. He nods. He sips. The steam rises in the morning light. You go back to your spreadsheet. And underneath the desk, underneath the day, the number keeps doing the only thing it knows how to do. The rule of phase 4 is the quietest one. The decade where it compounds is the decade where it does almost all of its work. And you will spend the entire decade unable to feel it happening. Phase 5. The number at the end, and what it cost. It is a Monday in October. 30 years, almost to the day, from the first morning you stood on the corner with your hand empty and felt embarrassed. You open the app. The number is $551,000. You put in, across 30 years, around $40,000 of your own money. $5 at a time. The price of a coffee. The other $500,000 was made by the money itself. Working in the dark. On every one of those forgettable mornings. While you held nothing. You had told yourself back in the boring years that this morning would feel like something. That the full number would land in your chest like a door opening. You sit at the kitchen table where you have sat 10,000 times. You wait for the door to open. It does not open. You wait for the feeling. You waited for it at 10,000 and it did not come. You waited at 100,000 and it did not come. You are waiting now at $500,000. And what arrives is not joy. What arrives is the arithmetic of mornings. 30 years is about 7,500 working mornings. 7,500 times you stood with an empty hand. 7,500 small refusals, none of which felt like anything, which is exactly why they worked. The number on the screen is not $551,000. The number is 7,500 mornings, converted. And you think about Theo, retired now too, somewhere with his grandchildren. He drank his way through the same 7,500 mornings. He has the memory of every warm cup and none of the number. By the count you kept and never told him about, Theo drank near 7,000 lattes while you held nothing. 7,000 warm mornings. He remembers almost none of them, the way you remember almost none of your empty ones. And that is the strange even trade at the bottom of all of it. The mornings disappear regardless. The only thing you get to decide is whether they leave anything behind. You are not sure he was wrong. He had warmth on 7,000 cold mornings, a small daily kindness to himself, a body that was never quietly furious at him the way yours was that first week. You are only sure he chose, the way you chose, and that both of you paid the same mornings for different things. There is no exchange rate between a warm cup and a number on a screen that anyone has ever been able to honestly compute. You go to a coffee shop that afternoon, the first time in 30 years. You order the latte. $6.50. The young man behind the counter does not know your order and never will. You hold the cup in your hand, the warmth of it, the shape your hand forgot. And you understand the thing the empty hand was always trying to teach you. The cup was never $5. The cup was a choice about which version of you got to exist. And the strange mercy of it, the part Theo and you both learned too late to use, is that the cup costs the same whether you drink it or not. You pay the morning either way. The only question the coffee ever asked you was what you wanted the morning to become. You did not give up the coffee. You gave the coffee to the man you would be at 55, and he spent 30 years learning to drink it for you. Somewhere right now, someone is handing over $5 for a cup they will forget by noon. They think it is nothing. They don't know yet what it costs. They will learn. They always do. The line at the counter never ends. It just finds the next one. The cup goes warm into their palm. They take a sip. They do not look at it twice. And the first brick of a number they will never meet goes quietly down their throat. Warm. And they call it a treat.